Hello, franchise mastermind group and those watching on Facebook. Appreciate joining us for another conversation with today. We are having another spin with MOOYAH, another franchisee story. We'll get into how MOOYAH has helped franchisees secure PPP loans and what's going on just generally in business. How are they operating this storm? From a positive news, again, we're tracking all the data as best as we can. Daily cases is decreasing, death count is decreasing. So we'll call that a good indicator. We're seeing some states slowly open. Some of the states that are already opening, we're watching on how businesses return. What are some of the guidelines that go in place? I believe Georgia has a 39-point system that has to go in place for a restaurant to reopen. So we're watching this carefully because we're still in unknown territory. We don't know what happens next. We don't know how business reopens. But luckily, there are very sophisticated and smart people in our community like Mike and Josh. Mike and Josh, thanks for joining us today. Would love for you guys to open up just general thoughts. How are things going? How are you guys navigating this? Just so that we can have a positioning into our discussion. Mike, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, first and foremost on everybody's mind is the reopening process that's imminent. It's about to be underway, and I think we've got one shot at getting that right and earning everyone's trust. We don't want to botch that, but where we sit today, we've got some stringent guidelines and guidance for our franchise partners to be able to open their restaurants with the safety of the guests and our team members first and foremost. So as hopefully this is the come out opportunity that we've been waiting for these last 6-7 weeks. And the key now is being positioned to get it right.
And Josh, what's going on in your world? Give us an update there.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're starting to find a new normal within this craziness, slowly building back to not near where we were, but we're definitely finding a new normal in a clean, safe environment for our people in our restaurants, but also the customers that come in, and finding that balance of serving our customers with great, guest service, but still protecting both our people and them. And we're able to, been able to do that with the help of, obviously MOOYAH, on the franchise side, and it's been very good, and we're starting to get through this, and we're excited for the reopenings as long as we can do it in a safe manner that everyone feels comfortable, and continue to kind of propel ourselves back into a more normal, new normal. So,
Josh, you mentioned about the reopening process, position to get it open right. So this video is going to exist today, right? It's also going to exist in the future. Franchisees are going to look at this. Right now, what's the stage you're at the staging of reopening? What do you mean by getting it right? What are you and MOOYAH Burger, what are you guys focused on?
Yeah, I think what we're focused on is, how can we maintain the quality of food, the quality of guest service, without compromising. And we've always been focused on, cleanliness, but also how can we, utilize these new guidelines that we've been, the social distancing, are we going to continue to have to limit our number of seats, and what does that look like? What does the new normal look like? And we want to have kind of an avenue for whatever is put down the pipeline, whatever health professionals are going to say, this is going to be the best to keep us safe for the next X number of months, potential years. And then how do we go about that to create operations and marketing plan that we can still sustain our business and ultimately our people who work for us. So I guess that's kind of what I mean is how can we take what health professionals are going to put in front of us as the best course of action to keep the public safe.
Mike, I want to turn to you with an operations question, because obviously you lead operations and you've been in this before. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that prepares you for this moment? Is there anything that prepares you for how you're going to approach the mindset of getting restaurants reopen? Like what in the back of the head, behind the head's head, what's back there saying, how are we going to navigate this?
Yeah, it's a great question. With all things that have been part of this crisis situation, I think we have to really separate the wheat from the chaff and fact from fiction. And that's been our focus the entire time. The worst thing that can happen right now is that all of this has gone too soon. And we're not in a position to protect the health and safety of our team members and our guests and our franchise partners. That's not going to be good for anyone. So where we're spending an awful lot of our human capital is around just making sure that we're dotting I's and crossing T's around sanitation, and being able to do that in an environment that puts our product at the high echelon we believe it should be. So in the very back of my mind is we've got to get it right, and it's got to be MOOYAH quality as we continue to serve it. So how we roll that, how we guide around that's going to be critical. And by the way, I mean, there's some other things that our franchise partners are having to deal with right now. A few months ago, we felt really great about our cash flow or our P&L ability, but we weren't as in tune with the cash flow situations in our restaurants, and we've all become experts of that. We've got everybody to a point where we think that they've got a plan. All of that becomes moot if we don't execute the reopening strategies that we've laid out for our franchise partners.
Gentlemen, I know this is probably today and this week will become a dated subject, at least as to PPP round 2.
Yep.
I know personally, I mean, we're a franchise law firm. We have plenty of clients, and, the frustration points of seeing Shake Shack, who no one should eat at because of this reason, in my opinion, humbly, they should eat at MOOYAH Burger. What's been the experiences, franchisor, franchisee, the PPP process, funding, support, and really what those funds are going to mean?
I'll jump in here, Josh. Josh is in one of our portals that we recommended, and we've got our fingers crossed on several of these folks. On our system, in round 1, the folks that went street side and had existing relationships were about 70% funded. Those that went through one of the larger entities or through a portal were not funded. And that has been frustrating, but that's the nature of the beast. If you don't have existing relationships, we understand why banks went in the direction they did. So we're much more hopeful on round 2. We realized that, there were some hiccups yesterday and into today, but we're hopeful. But we're all a series of small businesses, and we don't have access to the street or liquidity markets. We felt like these programs were made for our franchise partners, and to see some of the other folks jump in and take it, I don't blame them. Very appreciative of those that did the right thing and gave it back. But this is really a small business funding piece, and that's exactly where we exist. This is going to be the lifeblood for a lot of folks.
If I could just add on to that, again, I'm not going to get into the philosophical because it really bothers me, but from a culture and corporate standpoint, I do blame these large organizations like Ruth's Chris and Shake Shack and the Los Angeles Lakers and whatever other, Potbelly, because I think it reflects a culture and team management where, even though we have capital markets and even though we have private equity, we're just going to run to the money without any thought. And, it's interesting because I think this whole pandemic, the gift it's giving us is the sense of community and relationships, whether now we all know it's not the big giant banks, it's the local bank relationship that matters. We all learn now too that there's something more to franchising than these ridiculous agreements, but there's actually a relationship. There's a stakeholder interest, franchisor, franchisee. And so I don't know if it's a question. I don't know if you guys want to comment on it, but I think what we are seeing too is franchise brands that succeed, like MOOYAH Burger. We're seeing shared values between franchisor and franchisee, and we're seeing shared culture. And I question whether a company like Shake Shack and all these other brands that ran to the money, whether or not they do have the right culture and do have the right leadership. And I'll challenge that too to the Citibanks and Chase, where if God forbid a MOOYAH franchisee submitted an application first, but then got sent to the back of the line because they're worried about the Los Angeles Lakers, like screw them all, and that is bad culture. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys want to comment on it. I'm just going to run around crazy now. No.
Well, I don't disagree if that's as diligent as I can be on that. Our leadership team was, particularly our president and our board of directors, were very forthcoming. We're a small organization, so layoffs to support our franchise partners were not something that we could do and never entertained. So what is frustrating, to your point, is that a lot of these organizations did lay people off and then still felt good about getting the money. There's no way we could have laid anybody off and maintained a level of winning support for these guys to get our customer through it, and our customer being our franchise partners. The board was crystal clear. Everybody gets through this. That's the mission. And everybody on our team has a point of contribution that they've got to offer that adds value to what this franchise experience is, because it's been a scary time, and we figured out early into this that we were going to be able to survive, but that's all anybody's doing at this point in time, and we were able to defer some royalties and do those type of things to make the franchise experience better. But we had to prove out that was actually true, and you can't do in these situations is knee jerk. I would love for MOOYAH to be sitting on $30 million in cash and not to have to ask any of our partners to take this kind of money. We're just not built that way at this point in time. And the only thing that really unites all of us around this brand is our core culture and values. So I appreciate you saying that. That's who we are, and we're proud to work with these guys every day.
Yeah. It's definitely a true partnership across the board. And just kind of go back to the original question was, this whole PPP process. I don't disagree with what you're saying with the bigger companies that are, able to get, publicly traded and get money from that factor. I understand where they're coming from. Money's money. But I'm in agreement with you. I'm going to go back to the PPP side of it and this whole process. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, really. It's highs and lows, hope and distraught. And the nice part has been, when it first popped, I was, for our small company, I'm the one who does all of our accounting, all of our finance, and I was really looking into everything and reading the bill and whatnot. And the nice part is you got somebody like Mike, who has a much more wealth of knowledge than I do, who's right on top of everything with his team, reading the bill as they come out, and he's able to communicate on a personal level or to all the franchisees, kind of what's going on and what his suggestions are. And then to be able to leverage the franchise as a whole, not a giant franchise at this point, but there's enough of us to leverage us and try to get a fair shake at the PPP money, which has been very helpful. And it's nice when you're having those hard days, you can call somebody like Mike and I have, and just said, hey, what are you seeing? What's the likelihood? What do I need to do? What's your thoughts? Let's bounce ideas back and forth and find out what's not, right for our company, the franchise, and then the rest of the franchisees in the group. So it's been hard. It's been, like I said, a roller coaster of emotions, but it's been nice to have the support of MOOYAH and Mike specifically. So,
Josh, appreciate a lot of that feedback, because that helps frame the story. What I would like to hear, or what I would love to hear, is your story as a franchise owner. If you take us back to, say, March 1st, talk about how that roller coaster has gone for you. What were your emotions March 1st, March 15th, April 1st to now? Like, tell us how that's adjusted, and then also, as your emotions are going, how the support from the franchisor ends up attaching on to that and helping you navigate some of those storms.
Yeah. So I think just like anyone, right away, beginning of March, the unknown of really what's going on. And then we start getting some of these, the beginning of March, it hadn't really hit. And so you're seeing it happen. And you're like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. And then, so it's kind of unknown, not a lot. And you starts with some of the regulations, schools start closing, sales drop, and it's kind of fight or flight time. It's like, well, we can just lay down and die, or we can, figure out how to survive and get through this. And so that's where you just start, talking to your managers and your people and just start trying to execute a plan, and gather as much information as possible. And the nice part is that's where the franchise has really been able to be a big help, is to just be able to get information from them, lean on them, bounce ideas back and forth, because we were doing some things right away, just trying to cut little bits here and there, just in case this was the new normal, this huge 70% drop in sales. So some things we were doing, we let the brand know, the brand let us know what other people were doing. We kind of work together. I mean, that's kind of the idea of a franchise, is utilizing all of the parts as a whole. So yeah, that initial hit was really scary. A lot of sleepless nights. I've got 3 kids here at home. This is what I've been doing, sinking my heart and soul into for the last 5 years, is to build up to the 3 locations we have currently, with hopefully a 4th supposed to be set to open in about a month, but that's been delayed. So it's scary, not only on a personal level, because this is my livelihood, but also all my people. Very scary just to have to go in and we have great people, so they knew what was happening too, and they said, hey, we understand whatever you have to do. They know that if never have a job again. So they were understanding if they needed to cut their hours a little bit, take some time off, etc. And luckily we didn't have to cut too much. We were able to have money in the banks to suffice for a little while. And then, as we kept going, things started getting better. The brand was great about initiatives and pushing, more delivery, service providers, into the mix, and kind of prop anything up with some discounting and some promotions. And that was really helpful, to see sales kind of climb up a little bit. And our people saw that, and they felt more comfortable about what we were doing. And that's all a testament to the brand jumping right into it. As soon as it happened, they didn't sit on their hands and say, oh, woe is me. They were proactive. How can we, make the best out of this hard situation? And it's kind of propelled us from there, is we're starting to see those sales grow. And I think we're in a position where we're going to come out of this potentially stronger than we went in. It's been fun to see. It's scary, but fun.
Josh, there's so much there that you just brought up, right? Which is, just the idea, your children, 5 years ago, you invest in MOOYAH, you're about to, if you're 3 locations, about to open up 4. One of the things we realize is that these conversations right now become so valuable, because in the future, now a future post-COVID and the trauma, there's a lot of franchisees or individuals that are going to be out there looking to make a franchise investment. And, they don't have a big reference point, but right now in real time, we're sort of getting one. Could you reflect back, whether 4 or 5 years ago, when you made that decision? Well, naturally, I'm going to go into business. What was the factors, the intangibles, where you felt good, A, when you signed your franchise agreement with MOOYAH, and B, 6 months later, when you're like, and this may be true, hey, they still care about me, right? Which everyone cares about. And now, about to open up location 4. Like, what would you tell them to look at, whether it's MOOYAH or other brands? What would you share?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing with a franchise, and what drew us to MOOYAH, is aligning your values with the values of the company. In the franchise. So it's myself, my father, and my brother. It's the 3 of us who went into business together here with MOOYAH. And right away when we looked at MOOYAH, it was a very family friendly restaurant with great product, and really just focused on the family all the way around. There were other, brothers and sisters or husband and wife teams within the brand. So that was kind of the whole family aspect was definitely a draw for us. And at that time I had, one young son and a wife. So it was definitely aligning our values with the brand. And then that's just kind of tied all the way through, no matter what's changed with products or whatever within the brand. It's always been a focus on providing a great place for a family to come, that's quick, great food, and just a comfortable environment to be in, and really focused on giving a great guest service with a great product in a quick time. So I think that's what it comes down to, in my opinion, is aligning your values with the brand that you're going to go into, because you spend a lot of time with the people within the brand, all the way across the board, from ops to marketing to people, and that's been apparent, now in this pandemic, is the brand cares. Again, I'm not speaking for any other franchises out there, but I could see where a brand, a corporate side of a franchise could really easily just be like, woe is me. This is affecting everybody. There's really nothing we can do. That's not been MOOYAH at all. It's been what can we do? Not what can't we do. It's what can we do? What can we do to, get the financial assistance you need to get through this, whether it's loans or the PPP or a bridge loan, or what can we do to boost our top line, get some sales in the door so you can give more people more hours and support the people that you've made promises to in your restaurant, to all the way to the sanitation side of things, the cleanliness. What are we doing real time? Not 2 weeks from now. It's what are we doing tomorrow to make sure that this restaurant is sanitized, clean, and ready for not only the guests that are coming in, but our people. Because when it comes down to it, we're a people business. If I didn't have the amazing people in my restaurant that work there every day, amazing managers that run the stores individually, when we're not able to be there, we wouldn't be successful before or now or after. So MOOYAH sees that. We're all kind of one big MOOYAH family when it comes from franchise, franchisee, and the people in our restaurants.
Mike, I'm going to get to my question to you, but I want to just say something on the front end of this. As I hear you guys speak, and a lot of the way that my brain works, I relate it to sports, and I think about like the Patriots being down to Atlanta in the Super Bowl, and the announcer saying, this has never happened. There's no comeback that ever happens. And then they come back and win, or, big time records like Cal Ripken breaking the Gehrig's consecutive game streak. Like, there are moments in history, if you use sports as an example, where the comeback is sweeter than the original situation. And I think that's the direction that this is going to go in. I was talking to a restaurant brand last night, and he goes, things are great. I go, really? He goes, yeah, our sales were down 90% a month ago, and now we're down 50. But it's interesting because it's changing our perspective on almost what happiness equals, and that, and maybe we got too fat and happy on the last run that our businesses got to volumes, and we probably didn't put enough into savings for the rainy day. But as you reflect back on this, obviously the team atmosphere you've nailed. You guys did not have layoffs. And I think your answer is absolutely, for any prospective franchisees that are out there that are going to a franchisor and asking the question, like, how did you handle or navigate this? And they're like, we didn't have layoffs, not necessarily because it was responsible financially or fiscally. It's because we couldn't afford to support the franchisee statement. So now in the new norm, does happiness change? Does success look different? Do you start celebrating the great return to even? What's on your head around that?
Well, on my head around that is my report card's not going to be out for several more months. You got a guy from Wisconsin saying nice things about a guy from Iowa. So, we're in this together. And as you can tell, we're blessed with some quality franchise partners. So it makes it worth going. But, I look back on something we've been kicking ourselves on, is that we had no pandemic plan coming into this. And, we're constantly kind of figuring out, well, what should we have done while we figure out what's got to happen today and tomorrow. And, the more I think about that, I don't know that we would have followed a pandemic plan in the scenario we were in. It required our marketing teams to be completely nimble. Frankly, we're a brand in no danger of having a Super Bowl ad for your Patriots Falcons reference anytime soon. It all has to happen local. So our marketing team was incredibly nimble. Our ops team had to get really granular because everyone's in a slightly different situation with slightly different rules of the game, and we will continue to stay there. That's been a fantastic learning for us. That as a franchise system, one size cannot fit all. you've got different partners in there. So we've taken that away. 6 weeks ago, our training was all shoulder to shoulder, and we've pivoted. We've got our very first virtual training programs from soup to nuts on that stuff, and it's all had to happen very quickly and at a high quality level. So, I kind of bristle at the term new normal. I think there's here and now and then what we're going to be, in 3 months and in 6 months. And if everybody does their job, we will be wiser, smarter as we come out of this. And hopefully, the smart ones among us will absolutely have learned about what we can do to get better and to be better partners for our franchise partners, better servants to our guests. And that's what this business is. The smart ones among us will be here. The most overused quote right now is, it's not the biggest, it's not the smartest, it's the most adaptable that will survive this time. And we have a fiduciary responsibility to be paying attention and remain nimble and get our folks to the other side. So we've learned there are some things that we could have been doing had we had our eyes open that would have made this a lot more seamless transition. I think our leadership team, particularly our president and board, just gave us the right direction. Said, I don't want anybody worried about anything other than a franchise partner. And it's always kind of been that way with this particular group. Where we go from there, that's not changing. But I can tell you, we've got a pretty tight-knit team now. And top of mind is guys like Josh. I got to see him on the other side, safe, happy, and healthy. And what that looks like, they get to set the goals. It's my job to get them there.
Mike, your analysis, I love the fact that you're sitting there now reflecting on, hey, we could have prepared better. I think that says a lot at the leadership level. I also think, this pandemic is exposing those core values, because if you don't have them and you don't live them, your actions are not going to be aligned and consistent when it's stressed, right? Like now, and the relationship with your franchisees, the fact that you refer to your franchisees as your customers and your partners, and the fact that it's reflecting the relationship. So, it does say a lot about core values. And I think that's amazing. And I know Nick's going to ask, takeaways and stuff. And one of my biggest takeaways as I'm listening to the relationship franchisor-franchisee and MOOYAH is, I think before this pandemic, the world, whether it was the government and individuals, viewed franchise locations as part of big business. When this demonstrates to the world, really, not only small business powers our nation, and we're not the recipients of crony capitalism and all the nonsense, but as you look at every one of those locations, MOOYAH Burger and all the brands, there's a story behind it, and it's a small business story. And like Josh and his children and these relationships, and I think that's where I'm hopeful the tide turns. Company-owned outlets like Starbucks and Shake Shack, all of a sudden what they perceived as strength, which was their control, now I hope becomes their disadvantage, and franchising really thrives. And I think this is a great example of all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go through final thoughts. Mike, final takeaways?
Yeah, I think we're sitting here just in a moment in time, and what happens next, nobody knows. But I'll go back to, we've got to be adaptable and keep in mind that we've all got a fiduciary responsibility to be the best possible members of our communities. Those that have done that, those that have really stuck it out and found new ways and innovated through all of this are going to come out okay. But we're not here to be okay. Josh has got 3 kids to feed and a wife, and we need him coming out with his goals intact. So that's when our report card comes in, and it's our job to get him there. Thanks for having us, guys.
Josh, final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I just, like Mike said, we're going to come out of this, and we've just got to be ready. And we we're just blessed to have a great franchise that's been able to really navigate the waters as best they're able to and keep us afloat. And it's scary, but we're excited to come out of this as stronger and even more ingrained in our communities, because this has really put a focus on not only our people, but everybody in the community that comes into our restaurants. So.
Yeah, my final pieces are one. I think it's going to be fascinating to reflect back on this in history. We don't have this time capsule from 2008 or 2001 when we went through epic situations within America. So it'd be interesting to watch back on this, because we don't have as much of guidelines as we should in the time capsules from those moments on how to navigate it, and we can reflect back on how we behaved in business. But I think that is amazing. Two is, this is another example of a franchisee and a franchisor locked arms and saying, we might not know how to navigate this, but we're going to figure it out together. I think the word together is going to be very valuable on the end of this. And the last thing, and gentlemen, I'm really appreciative of this conversation. Josh, if that beard was not there pre-COVID, I am super impressed with your coronavirus beard, because that's an amazing beard.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, he shaved yesterday. I saw it.
Not quite that fast. It's definitely gotten unruly.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it, and I wish you both the best of luck as we continue to navigate this storm. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.